In the late afternoon, the library reading nook held a quiet kind of warmth. Tall windows reached from the wooden floor almost to the ceiling, and through their clear panes the garden lay soft and still beneath a light dusting of snow. The snow rested on the bare branches and on the low stone wall like a pale blanket that made no sound. Inside, the air carried the mild scent of old wood and paper, a scent that had lived in the room for many slow years. Elias sat in the wide armchair drawn close to the glass. He was a soft-spoken bookmender, his hands steady and unhurried. On his lap rested a frayed volume whose cloth cover had begun to loosen along one edge. A small wooden tray on the nearby table held his simple tools, a bone folder worn smooth by use, a length of soft cotton thread, and a thin brush for paste. The amber light of the lowering sun drifted across his shoulders and touched the open pages with a gentle gold. On the broad windowsill above him, Moth the drowsy grey cat lay curled in a loose circle. Her fur caught the same amber light and turned it softer still. Now and then her tail moved once, slowly, as if stirred by a dream. The muffled hush of the garden pressed against the glass, and the only sounds inside were the faint rustle of paper under Elias's fingers and the quiet rise and fall of the cat's breathing. Elias turned a page with care. He smoothed the corner where it had creased long ago. He let his palm rest for a moment on the paper, feeling its dry warmth. The amber light shifted a little farther down the wall, painting a slow path across the rug. Moth opened one eye, regarded the moving light, then closed it again. The room smelled of warm wood and settled dust and the faint sweetness of old glue. Nothing hurried. Nothing asked to be elsewhere. A soft draft slipped through a narrow space near the window frame. It was no more than a breath of cooler air, quiet as the garden hush outside. It touched the small stack of unbound pages that waited on the low table beside Elias's chair. The pages had been set aside earlier, ready to be re-sewn into their covers when the present volume was finished. Now the draft lifted their top edges. One sheet rose, then another, and they drifted downward in a slow, almost weightless scatter across the patterned rug. Elias watched them settle. He did not startle. He simply closed the book on his lap, placed his bone folder across its cover, and rested both hands on the arms of the chair for a long moment. The amber light continued its quiet journey across the floor, touching first one page, then the next. Moth lifted her head. Her ears turned toward the faint paper rustle, then softened again. Elias rose slowly. His feet found the rug without sound. He stood for a breath, looking down at the pale rectangles lying open like quiet leaves. The warm wood scent of the floorboards rose around him. Outside, the snow-dusted garden held its muffled stillness, the bare trees unmoving under the fading sky. He bent and reached for the nearest page. His fingers closed gently on the edge. The paper felt cool and thin. He lifted it and brought it close, smoothing the slight curl that the draft had left. The surface held the fine grain of its making, soft under his thumb. He carried it to the table and laid it flat, aligning it with the edge of the wood. Then he returned to the rug. Moth stretched, first her front paws, then her back. She slipped down from the sill in one long, liquid motion and landed without a sound. She walked to the next page and sat beside it, her grey fur nearly the color of the shadows gathering in the corners of the room. Her tail curled around her paws. She watched Elias as he approached, as if she meant to keep the page from drifting farther while he worked. Elias knelt. The amber light rested on his hands and on the paper and on the cat's still form. He picked up the second sheet, felt its weight, and ran one fingertip along the margin where a small tear had begun. He smoothed it with the flat of his palm, pressing only enough to quiet the fiber. The paper answered with the softest rustle, a sound no louder than a leaf settling in still air. He carried this page to the table and placed it atop the first, edges even, corners true. The third page had floated farther, near the leg of the armchair. Moth rose and padded after Elias, settling once more beside the sheet before he reached it. Her whiskers brushed the air above the paper. Elias smiled the smallest smile, the kind that lived mostly in his eyes. He lifted the page, turned it toward the light, and saw the faint watermark of the mill that had made it long ago. He smoothed both sides, taking his time, feeling the dry warmth return to the sheet from the heat of his hands. Then he added it to the growing stack. Outside, the garden hush deepened as the sun slipped lower. The snow on the wall caught the last stronger rays and glowed for a moment before the light softened again. Inside, the amber light moved across the rug in a slow band, touching Elias's sleeve, the cat's ear, the next waiting page. The scent of warm wood seemed stronger now, rising from the floor and the shelves and the old table. Elias collected the fourth page. It had come to rest half under the edge of a low footstool. He eased the stool aside with one careful hand, then gathered the sheet. A small crease crossed its middle. He laid the page across his knee and used the side of his thumb to ease the crease open, working from the center outward until the paper lay nearly flat again. Moth sat close, her side against his calf, the steady rhythm of her breathing matching the unhurried pace of his work. When he stood, she rose too and followed him to the table, then returned with him to the rug. The fifth page waited near the base of the window. A little of the garden's cooler air still lingered there. Elias lifted the sheet and held it a moment in the amber light so that he could see any thin places or soft corners. He found none that needed mending yet. He only smoothed the surface, once, twice, until the paper felt calm under his touch. The faint rustle it made was like a quiet answer. Moth watched from a seat she had chosen 2 steps away, her eyes half closed, the tip of her tail moving once in slow contentment. He gathered the 6th page, and the 7th. Each time the motions were the same: the slow bend, the gentle lift, the careful smoothing, the short walk to the table, the precise placing. Between each page he paused. He looked out at the snow-dusted garden and let the muffled hush settle into him. He breathed the warm wood scent. He felt the amber light rest on his face and then move on. Moth kept her quiet watch, shifting only when he shifted, sitting beside each new sheet as though the pages were small creatures that needed company until they were safely stacked again. When the last page had been found, a single sheet that had drifted almost to the far edge of the rug, Elias brought it to the table with the others. He stood before the neatening pile and began the final ordering. He lifted each sheet in turn, checking the sequence of the faint numbers written lightly in the corners. One by one he slid them into their proper places. The paper made soft sliding sounds, like quiet breaths. Moth leapt lightly onto the chair seat and then onto the table's edge, where she settled with her paws tucked, watching the slow alignment of edges. Elias took the thin cotton ribbon from the tray. It was the color of fresh cream and soft from years of gentle use. He slid it beneath the finished stack, brought the ends up, and tied a simple bow. He adjusted the loops until they lay smooth. Then he rested both hands on either side of the bound pages, feeling the slight give of the paper and the quiet certainty of the ribbon holding them. The amber light had grown softer still. It touched the finished stack and the grey cat and the worn tools and made them all seem part of the same calm hour. Elias carried the newly gathered pages back to the low table and set them beside the frayed volume he had been mending. He returned to his armchair and Saturday. The cushions accepted him with a slow settling sound. Moth rose from the table, stretched once more in a long grey arc, and leapt back to the windowsill. She turned twice, then curled into her familiar circle, her side pressed to the glass that overlooked the snow-dusted garden. The last of the amber light rested on her fur and on the finished book and on Elias's quiet hands. He opened the frayed volume again. The page that waited was clean and ready. He smoothed it once, though it needed no smoothing, simply for the comfort of the gesture. Outside, the garden had fallen into a deeper hush as the light withdrew. The snow held the soft shapes of the day without change. Inside, the warm wood scent lingered, and the soft memory of paper rustle seemed still to float in the air like a held breath. Elias read the first quiet sentence on the new page. He did not hurry to the next. Moth's breathing slowed until it matched the stillness of the room. The amber light thinned to a gentle glow along the windowsill and then rested there, unmoving. The reading nook kept its peace. Nothing more was asked. The small shared task was complete, and the evening could arrive in its own time. The room held its calm breath. The last amber light rested on the quiet book and the sleeping cat while the snow-dusted garden kept its soft and endless hush.